All right, so Gabe, what's on your mind, fella?
Well, I think it's kind of on the flip of what you were just talking about. I work in a district that's had a lot of resources. We have a ton of technology available to us. And my biggest concern is that we have all these resources, and like you said earlier, we have a bunch of teachers who are using it for Word documents when they're going to the computer lab, or having trouble turning on their smartboard, or need to call somebody to, turn their TV to the right channel, or whatever the case may be.
The wealthy always need someone to mow the lawn.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. Don't get me wrong; some of our teachers are great with the technology.
No, I hear you. We're being general. I'm talking about specific people.
Right,
okay.
But I guess my concern is we have all this money for the technology, and that's where all the funding is spent. But maybe some of that money should be used for the actual training, and we do use some of it for that. But now that we have the technology, of course, times are a little tough, and they're starting to cut back a little bit. And so now we have those teachers who are out there who really need to learn how to use that technology and use those resources.
Yeah, and I don't want to contradict anything. My last comment about when you have no resources, you have to be innovative. It still holds true. So it's just a different itch to be scratched when you talk about folks who are resource rich, or at least in relative terms are resource rich. And again, the truth is none of us have designed the truly 21st century classroom. So whether you have money and resources or don't, all of us are discovering it. So here's where I always find it works is, basic PowerPoint, basic, Word docs. That's where the average school that has all the tech, they have smart boards, but they do Word documents, on them. Or maybe they go touch the screen and that's exciting, but it's not really rigorous and robust. So here's where I just came from a school that was a college prep, independent day school, big tuition dollars. 100% of our kids go on to four-year colleges, and they've always had resources, but it was traditional. They would rather have high AP scores than have kids be global. And that's, at the end of the day, because, those teachers who have been there 25 to 35 years, they are great, not because of technology, but because of expertise. And their classrooms are modeled after what they did. And so, to me, it always comes down to professional development. And I don't think it's expensive conferences. I don't think it's, 3 days away from the students. What I think it is, it's 24/7 professional learning networks. And when teachers who think, why do I need to use blogging and wikis and blah, 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 and it's great that I have a smartboard, but really I could go back to a chalkboard tomorrow if you pulled the plug on it. I think what it is reminding teachers, or setting up a dynamic of how do we talk about subjects of passion and creating networks of people that are equally passionate. So if I'm a teacher and I teach English or math, that's great, but no teacher wants to learn all this technology just to teach math, because they can already teach math. But every teacher has a private life and something they're a geek about. NASCAR, kitty cats, holiday sweaters, I don't care what they are. Every teacher has something they love. Boy Scouts, traveling to Australia, building a treehouse in the backyard, cooking, it doesn't matter. And I always believe that if we can turn this around, ironically, away from their classroom subject and their expertise, and more towards what do they love doing at 3 in the morning that they can't shut off, or what do they do on the weekends with their 3 best friends, and really start to model the technology use that way, then they can't unthink the idea, oh my God, we could do this in the classroom. And it's a really simple rule. If I'm going to talk about literature and go to book and be part of a book club, then how can I use technology to widen that book club? Or if I love fixing my car, how can I find 5 other people that can help me with my Volkswagen van again? And I think that's where the opportunity lies, is make it very personal, very selfish, and very passion-based, and then give them 6 months to a year to say, well, how does it have implications for the classroom? Because it's the same thing for the kiddos. It's one thing to be good in school. It's one good thing to be bad in school, but everybody's passionate about something. And those kids, when they leave school, are passionate about something. And they're doing fan fiction. They're finding networks of gamers. They're finding like-minded people 24/7 globally to tap into this kind of conversation. And I think that's always the place you work from when you have traditional teachers who have lots of resources but frankly don't want to fundamentally change their teaching, is you allow them to be selfish about their passion subjects out of school. And then you just ask them to talk about how could this be how could this be useful? And then the other side is you can't afford, just because you have a master's degree, to no longer develop professionally. You need folks working on your behalf 24/7. Hey, darling. You can't bring that upstairs. So, you know, when it's frustrating and exciting, that's the intersection I would be working at with the professionals that are hesitant. Not the 10% that are brave, not the folks like you that are spending their summers doing this, and not the folks that are being really brave in their private classrooms. There's always the heroes doing it by any means necessary behind closed doors. But how do you get the average teacher to get excited about social media, digital technology, one-to-one computing, on and on and on, getting beyond PowerPoint, getting beyond, you know, they just did a paper online. And I know you know this. I mean, I know you know this intuitive. So, but I would just say that's where the opportunity lies. You know, I don't know that that's new. So if that's the boundary, is you have folks with resources but they're traditional, I would always get back to what do they give a damn about when they're not on the clock, and how do they find like-minded people that are excited, and they, you know, I don't care what it is. It's a yard sale, and they want to know. They're going to Google how am I going to do a great yard sale, or they're going to travel to New York City or Antigua. I mean, whatever it is, how do they find like-minded people that can be available to them 24/7? Because that's what I do with Twitter. It's just a lot of my like-minded people are designers and educators. So anyway, so thank you all for sharing all that.